Welcome, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. Welcome to Facebook Live. Can you all believe it? It is almost December and people must be preparing for Christmas, having their Christmas trees up and all that good stuff. So welcome. And let me welcome our panel here. We welcome April back. April is here. Good evening, April. April is a psychic and has quite a few modalities of healing. She's here. Good evening, April. And then we have Ken here, who is part of a core group of meditators. Good evening, Ken. And then we have Michelle. Good evening, Michelle. Welcome back after a few weeks of hiatus. And then we have our lovely Patricia. Do you have any questions today, Patricia? Or you're doing good?
Why you don't have any questions? I always come up with a question if you want me to, but I give somebody else right because the last 2 weeks it was all about me.
Intense. Okay, I'll ask the question. Let me pull it up. It's on my phone. So April, do you remember there used to be let me see. There was this story in A New Earth about a wise man who won an expensive car in a lottery. His family and friends were very happy for him and came to celebrate. And then they said, "You're so lucky." And then he got into an accident and ended up in the hospital. And then his friends and family said, "That was really unfortunate." And the man said, "Maybe," right? And then while he was in the hospital, there was a landslide and his house like completely got destroyed. And everybody said, "Weren't you lucky to have been there in the hospital?" Again, he said, "Maybe." So the wise man's maybe signifies a refusal to judge anything that happens. Instead of judging what is, he accepts it and so enters into conscious alignment with the higher order. So now this person says, "Surely this level of non-judging is not easy to reach, but it's inspiring me over and over. So why should we plan where to go when the road will have its own way anyway?" So the question is, why should we plan where to go when the road will have its own way anyway?
That's not Samar, is it? Or Lakshmi. You can plan. The idea here is to not be attached. That's one of Eckhart's primary messages, is to not be attached. So it doesn't mean that you don't ever plan for anything. You're just not attached to the outcome. One of the ways to not be attached to the outcome is to not judge. So if you are emotionally attached to your plans, like, I have to get a better job or that's it. I will not have a good life if I don't have a good job. I don't have a different job. And then that also ties into your identity, which is something Eckhart talks a lot about. That's where we get into trouble. But if you plan to move along so we're going to use career as an example, your career path, and to expand on that. And if that means that we get a better job, different job, a promotion, then that's okay. But if it doesn't happen, that's okay too. So it's not that you don't plan. And there is, and I do believe this, that wherever you are on the journey is exactly where you're supposed to be. You're not supposed to be where I am. You're not supposed to be where Poonam is. You're supposed to be exactly where you are. So saying, why should we even plan? Because the universe or source is just going to have their way with us. It's part of the fun of life. it's part of the zest of life to have some sort of goal, some sort of thing to work towards. So it's not that the road will also have its own way anyways all the time, because there is also another idea out there that any idea or plan or goal or desire that you have, it's from your higher self. So it's on the road and it's meant to be on the road. So there's an idea that you wouldn't have it if it wasn't part of your path too. So now there are things that I do believe that are meant to happen, and those are part of your soul journey and your soul path. But we do have freedom of choice. There's always the freedom of choice. You can choose not to listen to those coincidences, those signs. You can ignore all of them if you would want. So we're not forced into this path or these roads, because we always have the element of free will. Now, Eckhart laughs, and I'm at the point where I can chuckle with him that if you don't follow the path, then you just come back and do it again. And I can chuckle with him. So let me know if you have, is there another question? Patricia, you got another question to this?
No, the question I was going to ask, right, her or his response almost seems like very fatalistic, right?
Mhm.
April,
It
saying,
sounded depressive to me, yeah.
right? Why plan where to go when the road will have its own way anyway? And what we teach here is your limiting beliefs is what is holding you back, right? If you dissolve your limiting beliefs, the world, you're an unlimited genius. That's what Dr. Joe says, right? You're
Mhm.
an unlimited genius. The divine is flowing through you. You're empowered. You're inspired. So I can do anything. I can change anything.
Yeah.
Right?
So that is true, and I do believe that. Now, I do believe that there are certain things that we are supposed to experience in this lifetime. There are certain things we are supposed to go through, and those were set pre-birth. Does that mean that everything has to be a devastating event? No. But there are certain things that we are meant to learn to lead us right to this path right here, right to this group, right to this moment, right to this time. And I did see, like, the statement overall seems like a why try, give up kind of depression.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that tells me, though, that there's attachment to something, and then there would also be usually a limiting belief in the arena of not truly deep down feeling worthy of what it is that you're trying to achieve that isn't showing up for you. Right? I had that for many years, where I was trying to achieve things and achieve things and achieve things, and certain things, especially when it came to money. A lot of times it's for relationships with people, and it's because you hold a limiting belief, whether that's Eckhart's teaching, Joe Dispenza teaching, doesn't matter. It is literally, for me, an epidemic I see across the planet, that you have a limiting belief somewhere that's not aligning energetically with what it is that you're trying to get. When you clear the belief, the pattern, and the behaviors, the road opens wide up.
And I also feel that, yeah, what you were, what needs to happen will happen to a certain point. Once you dissolve your limiting beliefs, once you are in that brain and heart coherence, right? that's when, like Dr. Joe says, you're in the unknown, more in the unknown, where your thought becomes things. When that thought becomes things, when you are truly in that elevated state where you're constantly in those elevated emotions of gratitude, you're feeling that loving kindness, you're experiencing that compassion, then you are going to manifest something that is always in your favor.
Yeah.
Right? And that is what we need to get to when Eckhart says presence power, or Dr. Joe says brain and heart coherence. When Dr. Joe says one mind, one heart, right? He means that one mind, one heart is you get into that level of coherence that all that you're experiencing is the only experience that you're experiencing is elevated states of emotions.
Right.
Right.
It's the same emotion as what I tell people when I do readings. There's only one emotion on the other side, and it's love. That's it.
Exactly.
When we are able to connect to that emotion, that is when that's where what Joe Dispenza, he calls as the sweet spot. That's where you want to be, where you can actually create and manifest. So for this person, I would do work on limiting beliefs. You can do energetic work on that. You can do meditation, but I would look at some limiting beliefs around whatever it is that they're trying to achieve. Abraham Hicks was awesome for this. She was an awesome teacher. I listened to Abraham for years. There's some other energy healers out there that can lead you into what exact limiting beliefs you have. But you don't want to give up. You don't want to quit trying. You do have a path that's kind of set, but we have free will, but you don't want to give up. The purpose of life is to experience and to enjoy and to learn and to be on a journey. That's the purpose.
To find that joy for existence, as Dr. Joe says.
Mhm.
If you're not in joy for existence, then you need to keep working towards that. Why am I not in that joy for existence? Right?
Which is
So-
acceptance.
No, it could be pure joy as well, right? Joy
Well,
for the
it's
moment.
learning to, I mean, acceptance for it is what it is, accepting what is
Mhm,
and being okay with that.
mhm.
If you're fighting it, then you won't be happy.
Then you're not in joy for existence. Then you're
Right.
in resistance. Right? Perfect. Thank you. Let me move to Caesar. Caesar, the question you may have missed. So there was this story in A New Earth where there was a story about a wise man who won an expensive car in a lottery. His family and friends were very happy for him. And they said, isn't it great? And then his car crashed. He was in the hospital. And then they said, aren't you, is that not unfortunate? And he said, maybe. Everything he said, maybe, right? Then one night there was a landslide and his house fell into the sea. Again, his friends came the next day and said, weren't you lucky you have been here in hospital again? He said, maybe, right? So this person asked, why plan where to go when the road will have its own way anyway? And so that was April's response to why plan where to go.
Beautiful.
you.
Yeah. I loved your response, April, by the way. So hello, everybody. So yeah, I mean, planning is just basically saying I want to achieve something. This may be the roadmap. So I'm going to set this pathway in planning to try to align with what I'm trying to get. I mean, in simple terms, right? Yeah, it's gonna be what it's gonna be regardless. Do you influence things along the way? I believe so. Um, you're going to arrive at the destination always. Um, I always say it's a matter of how you get there. Are you going to be bouncing off every wall or just a couple walls? Very rarely do we take the straight path. I mean, when you're in, presence as somebody like Eckhart Tolle, in almost a nonstop state of presence, then yeah, perhaps you will go straight through, you know, and achieve whatever it is you're trying to do by way of manifesting. But at the end of the day, I really liked what April said, and I agree with her that this is basically a pre-planned chart, you know, and it happens prior to our arrival in this world of form. So, you know, again, I believe she said it as well. You know, we have to go through what we are going through to get where we are going always. Um, but the planning aspect, and I agree. It sounds like, you know, why bother? Well, you have to have a certain vibrational frequency to align with something that your soul is directing you to. Low vibrations aren't going to get you to a happy place. Never. You will just experience a lot of what you're not after by not having this zest for life, this joy, this gratitude, this loving space within you um, that allows manifesting to be almost effortlessly. And that's kind of what, you know, life is about, floating down the river of life, allowing things to happen as they may. And I love that story. Maybe. That's beautiful. Think about what he's saying there. You know, is it, aren't you devastated? No, I mean, maybe. Is this going to, maybe? Yeah, it's just allowing things to be as they are. And according to your perception, um, it could be anything. You could feel any way you want. I was just having a conversation today with a gentleman who was saying, you know, how do we live this almost identical lives? We see each other all the time, and yet my world is vicious and angry and, you know, chaotic. And, you know, we live 3 houses down. We hang around with the same, well, we don't, we interact with the same people. We work at the same place. And you're just always in this bouncy, happy mood. And, you know, I get phone calls nonstop. Well, I get there. Life still happens. You know, it's just a matter of how you respond to things anymore. And if you just let them be as they are, you don't have to have a reaction to it. Okay, that's the favorite word. I'm sure many of you can, you know, vouch for that for yourselves as well.
I think you went on mute, Caesar.
I
Thank you.
did. But yeah, so I don't know how much I got cut off, but yeah, it's, you know, it's about how you respond to things and whether or not you're going to be at this happy place or not. You know, again, life will happen. We will experience a roller coaster of things that are not pleasant to us all the time. Just it's part of the game. Them moments are the moments we need to do what we came here to do. And again, April touched on it. You know, learn, expand, grow, experience, create. And if you do this in such a way that you are in just a nonstop acceptance, you know, you're in acceptance of everything. It's hard to really get knocked off your square, you know. So the planning again, um, Eckert touches on the planning part. It's something that we have to do in our practical lives to achieve certain things. But as far as the destiny, you know, we all have to use clock time uh, to plan things out, you know. That just goes with the rigors of life as far as making doctor's appointments and stuff like that. That's about as far as the planning goes for me, anyways. I don't plan a vacation. I don't plan much. If I want to take a vacation, I just figure, you know what, when I get some time off and I got the time, that's when I'll go on vacation. You know, we just call it the P word around my house because every time somebody plans something, it just always seems to fall through. so they don't even say the word anymore. It's comical, but I get it. Yeah, things are going to be the way they're going to be, regardless. I think you can influence how things happen. Um, how you respond to them, of course, is going to determine your next experience. And that's like, I love a saying from Daryl Anka, Bashar, and that's, you know, always delve, do the thing that most excites you, that is available to you in any given moment, without any expectation of the outcome. So he's basically saying, be in this excited state about what's coming and do what is most available to you, that is most pleasing, most exciting to you. And that could be as simple as laying on the couch. If that's, laying on the couch is one of my options, or walking the dog, or reading a book, depending on the mood, I may choose to lay on the couch. That might be the most exciting thing for me. And I will do that try and stay in an excited state of mind. And then that will lead me to the next little piece of the grid that fills in for the day. And that's just basically saying to try to keep the vibrations high. And that is listening to your soul dictate the way or the path. As you were saying last week, whenever you respond to something or make a decision, you have to do it with the wholeheartedness, in a state of compassion and love. You can't be wrong ever, I believe, if you actually do that. Especially when something is irritating you, it's time to just stop. And then, like you said, Joe Dispenza backs off a little bit. He may take 15 minutes, whatever he needs to do, and he comes back when he's got that clear, loving, compassionate way about him, and then he'll make his decision and carry on. I believe living your life should be much of the same way, in that state, in an excited state. Yeah, you could be in, an excited state and, get a phone call that gives you some bad news, and you can snap out of that. Again, how are you going to react to that bad news? Let's just say, for example, a death in the family. Now, it's hard to stay excited when you get a phone call of that sort. So the initial response to any given situation is very important, and you have to feel the emotion. April, you talk a lot about that. You have to be in tune with that. And again, it's not that people are cold. They just have a good understanding of acceptance and what that offers you, because at the end of that tunnel is peace. Once you can accept something, any type of resistance will cause you pain, but it is okay to deal with any given situation, and be in tune with your emotions. It's important. If you feel like you got to cry, cry. There's nothing wrong with that. The key is to just snap out of it at some point. And I believe that happens through pure acceptance. It's okay to grieve and stuff like that. I often get called cold myself. You don't have no feelings. I mean, you just got to call your best friend died again. And it's like nothing to you. Well, it's everything to me. I'll cherish the memories. I fully accept that he's gone. What do you want me to do? Cry? Then I think I initially cried for a few minutes behind closed doors, and that's what I'm saying. And if I cried for a week, so what? It is what it is. But through acceptance is the piece that we're all after. So again, the plan as you must. Don't get too attached to the outcome before it happens. Eckhart speaks on that. The destination, awareness. Don't get caught up on the attachment to the destination, your expectations of the destination, because then you lose the journey along the way. When you're so focused on the finish line, you're going to trip over every hurdle along the way. So enjoy the journey along the way. Stay focused on what's in front of you. Honor your here and now always, and let things unfold as they do. And hopefully your planning works out for you.
Beautiful. Incredible. Thank you, April. Thank you, Caesar. What I understood is people can read Eckhart's excerpt and completely misunderstand what he's trying to say through the excerpt and do their own interpretation of it. That's another pointer that I wanted to give, that when you read it, read what he is actually trying to communicate in that excerpt, like get into stillness. Right? Don't look at, oh, this person says maybe, so now life is going to be fatalistic. Now I don't need to change anything. Right? Don't, that's like ego mind again, the thinking mind doing a misinterpretation of what is, right? What is Eckhart? Eckhart is just teaching the modality of acceptance. Like both April, you and Caesar, you touched on it, right? That acceptance is the key. So I wanted to say that's the thing. And since Caesar, I'm talking to Caesar, I'm going to talk about both Dr. Joe Dispenza and Abraham Hicks talks about thoughts become things. So we are creators. We need to know that when we are in that elevated state, that excited state that Caesar is talking about, thoughts become things. I wanted to give an example. Last week, I think I was watching like some picture of Eckhart and Oprah, like hugging each other, like maybe Super Soul Sunday, and she took like one shot that's for promotion. And I just looked at the picture and I smiled at both of them, right? I remember I smiled at both of them. Next day, on Sunday, she normally posts something on her, like she does an inspirational thing. So I posted a response to whatever article that she had posted, and she responds to my response. It's like thoughts becomes things, right? You're not realizing that the picture that you're looking at and the fact that you connected with that picture for a second, like you smiled, right? I want everybody to know that we are creators. This is the main message from Dr. Joe. We are creators. And if we are experiencing challenges in our life, we created that challenge in our life. If we are experiencing any kind of physical illness in our life, we are co-creating that illness in our life. If we are experiencing joy in our life, we are the co-creator of that joy in our life. So what do we, he says, right? Do we want to create in pain or do we want to create in joy? We want to create in joy, right? So how do you get to the joy is the answer. With that, I'll move to Ken. Ken, did you want to say something, Ken? I know the moment April started saying, something came to your mind and I knew you were ready with an answer, Ken.
Yes, no, I love what both April and Caesar talked about, and they touched upon a lot of things. And what's specifically what April said, I actually don't remember. But just the whole idea of the story, and it kept talking about how lucky the person was when he was in the hospital. And for me, the whole message was, we're not in control. And we can't be thinking of how life works and realizing how that is so insane to think that we understand that. So that's the whole idea to me of surrender. That's the whole idea that when things happen and when you can really look at reality for the way it is, like everything around us, the trees, the sun, the ocean, the water, anything that's natural has a different vibration than the thinking mind, and then realizing that that energy field, that we're just what you had said, Poonam, about co-creating. So if we have a lot of people thinking the same thing, then of anger, frustration, hostility, judgment, whatever it is, it's like almost like we're going to catch it, or we're going to be part of that. we're going to really be co-creators of what isn't working. So, and to me, it's very, very obvious why things in this world are the way they are. So, and then you got fear and you got love. You got presence, and then you got ego. So I used to always ask myself, it used to feel like a contradiction. And then people would say, do it like this. And I used to get frustrated because I used to think I was, but I hadn't surrendered. And then I was using my thinking mind, thinking I'm going to get the answer through the thinking mind. So once I went into the awareness, once I started meditating, once I started to feel the peace or feel the presence, then the dots started coming together because I'm in the presence energy field. I'm in alignment in a different space. And so, and the only way to get there for me is I had to do the work. And that to me was, we can't give that to anybody. We have to be responsible for everything. And that's where the pain and suffering, that's where the uncomfortability. And until I was with like-minded people, that's how I got there. I couldn't do it on my own until, and even now, I feel like, yes, I can do a lot of it on my own because I'm having different tools in my toolbox. I'm having a better understanding. And then also you start to feel the presence. You start to go through the synchronicities. You start to go through, I call it the tiny little miracles. You start to look at nature, and then it actually has a language. It has a communication. When you look at it and realizing that, what am I looking at it with? And another big one was getting out of the head and going into the heart. That is a completely different shift. And that's where I feel, I know for myself, I wasn't getting out of my head, but I was thinking I was out of my head. And that's why the contradictions, and that's why things wouldn't work. And so it's something where, going back to the man saying, we're lucky, weren't you lucky this, weren't you lucky that? And he says, maybe. And now it's amazing when you can just allow yourself to be, just be. And there's a calmness and a peace in the beingness. But if you try to do that, be calm and gentle and whatnot, you can't do it. Because then realizing that love is, it just is. There's no attachment to love, but there is an attachment to doing. So that helps me to understand, in my human understanding, there's always seems to be a catch. And I wasn't going to fully surrender, not to being. And that there is what more and more I'm seeing and feeling with my five senses. And all the five senses, there's more clarity. There's just a knowing in it, where you get to that place where you just know it. And also seeing, and I've said this many times, in many ways, the group, I feel like we're in process with how things are working. And then how loving and supporting one another in a way that comes through the presence. And it's almost like I can feel it. And there's a part of me that smiles with it. And then there's sometimes I can hear somebody be in their unconsciousness and realizing that you can't have one without the other. So and then what it is we know when to let go and we know when to say something. And if it's all done with love, and then it perpetuates that energy field. So I just love how we're all expressing in our own way and releasing the attachments to have a better understanding in communicating with one another And we're all, I feel like more and more, we're all one. I'm seeing everyone in each other and just how that's being passed through. So thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Ken.
you.
With that, I wanted to go back to our conversation before we started the Facebook Live Q&A, which is like, I'm going to make a public service announcement, which is I introduced everyone to a remote coherence healing that is held by Dr. Joe Dispenza's authorized groups. And since I'm about to move to Michelle, who might be able to talk about it as well, since she's participated in a few. It is an incredibly amazing experience. I would strongly recommend that even if you don't have to be chronically ill to join the group. They even told us, all the advanced community, like the healers are people who have participated in an advanced retreat, which is a 5 to 7 day retreat with Dr. Joe Dispenza. So they've recommended that even the healers go become a Healy. Healy is somebody who is actually chronically ill, but they've also asked us to be a Healy so that we can receive that. It is like magical. Like if you want to experience the miraculous, that is how you experience the miraculous, because the amount of coherence that exists right as that remote coherence, and this is like people are in all different places and they come as one mind, one heart, as Dr. Joe says. It is an experience that's beyond indescribable. So please do sign up for it. With that, I'll move to Michelle. If you want to talk about it, Michelle, as well as talk about the answer. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. It's been a while since I've been participating, but I really would just be reiterating anything that April, Caesar, Poonam, and Ken have already said. It's the Leela of life, right? I mean, we're here to experience life in its myriad of forms. And as Eckhart says, life isn't here to make us happy. I'm happy, right? We want to control everything and know the outcome is guaranteed, right? And then I'm happy when this happens or when that happens. It's here to make us conscious. And so the road to making us conscious is struggle and, you know, and surrendering and acceptance. So it's everything that has already been said, you know, and to be compassionate with ourselves when we get discouraged, right? Because that's part of it. We recognize we're being discouraged and we stay in that discouragement less time and we grow and we're able to catapult ourselves out of the discouragement just a little bit faster than we were before. So it's a journey, right? A lot of acceptance towards ourselves as well. So in terms of the healings, so I participated in 3. The first 2 I did last week, 1 and the week before. So I sat in for my son, for Joseph, because he doesn't have, I guess, the attention span to really be able to sit for an hour. I will tell you from the moment I just tuned in, like I went onto the Zoom link, I felt this like rush of energy. Tears welled up in my eyes. I mean, just to know 40 people were there, just out of the loving kindness of their hearts to help one another, was so touching and beautiful. And it hit me like a ton of bricks, which is not really 10 of bricks, it was a ton of love. But I had no expectations, right? So when I just logged in, I'm like, and it was amazing. Each experience. The second time, my stepdaughter attended and wanted to be there in presence for Joseph as well. And she does her own work, but she's not part of this group. But she's on her own journey, her own spiritual path. And she told me, Michelle, she had to wait like a few days to tell me her experience of how powerful it was for her. And then her boyfriend has done it as well. He suffers from migraine headaches. I think he did it like a few days ago. I wasn't on it, but then my stepdaughter today was on it as a Healy because the family lineage has had breast cancer 2 generations, and she is the third. So she has some cysts in her breasts, and she was trying to nip it at the bud. So I sat in with her. And so this time not that I have done the advanced retreats for Joe Dispenza, but she wanted my presence there, and I wanted to be there for her and participated as a healer. And I think that was even more powerful. I can't even explain it. I mean, I was sitting in for my son, but to be a help as a healer, and then Christina was there with Gustavo. It was just, we were part of our group coincidentally, or not coincidentally, synchronistically. That was sign of the universe brought us all together in this one session, not knowing that we would be there together. To me, that was divine. I mean, that was just, and I was overwhelmed, had a mystical experience that I've never had before, that where my mother-in-law, who I didn't know, she was the one that passed away from breast cancer, and her daughter has had two bouts of breast cancer, had a mastectomy, and is going through some infection. She's in the hospital now. And then her niece, which is my stepdaughter, has had, so it was like, I felt like her presence all over us with 3 generations, her granddaughters, her great granddaughters, all swirling around us. I can't even explain it. It sounds woo-woo, but it was nothing that I planned and nothing that I intended. And it was totally unexpected. And it was surreal, amazing. It was so much love and so much healing. I could feel like the disintegration of whatever was happening with my sister-in-law, with my stepdaughter. So I encourage everybody to go with an open mind, open heart, and know that this is possible, that we do create healing, even if it's just at the heart level, which is what is so important, right? Even if we have an illness, but to be able to face the illness, right? How are we facing this illness, right? Are we facing it with despair, or are we bringing light to it, So if you can go, whatever you're facing, with a lighter heart, it's a gift. It really is. It's a gift. I was really, honestly, no words, floored today.
What I wanted to say, Michelle, is you enter it with the right energy as well, because that's how we enter, whether it is the physical being present during the retreat, the coherence healing during the retreat. Dr. Joe is extremely protective and extremely strict and stringent about how we enter that room. He says you have to be in a trance, you have to have heart and mind coherence, right? And enter with a sacredness and reverence. Don't enter without that sacredness, and have your hand over your heart and enter that room with sacredness and reverence. And that's how we enter the remote. That's why you never see me on camera, because I turn the blinds, like I make it a dark room. I put my shades on so that I am in that reverence, like that I'm entering a temple, right? And you, I feel, are one person that I always see when you're on camera, that you enter with that. So people need to enter, if you're a Healy, enter with that state of reverence that you're about to receive something, you're about to connect with source, right? These people are going into 5D, all the healers are going 5th dimensional and connecting with each other. So you're about to receive like 40 people's energy blast. It's an energy blast into you, right? And it may not be 40 because it's divided, right? Through half of them are focusing on one Healy, the other half on the other Healy. So it may be like 20-20, but 20 people are focusing their love on you. And like one of the hosts for our Thursday meditation, she's a Thursday healing, she says, thank you for choosing your, because we did it on Thanksgiving Day in the evening. She did not miss, or she didn't say, oh, it's Thanksgiving Day, I won't host this, right? We hosted it on Thanksgiving Day. She even did it on Saturday in the afternoon. So I was cooking, and in the middle of it, I was like, oh my God, the time for the healing has started. So I stopped what I was doing and I started joined the healing. And she says, she always says, thank you for choosing your divinity over your humanity. And
That's
I would
beautiful.
I would say that to all of you as well for years, Caesar, April, thank you for choosing your divinity over your humanity. Everyone that's online, Louise, Lakshmi, everyone that comes online, Edith, Michelle, that y'all are choosing your divinity over your humanity when you're coming in and trying to help each other. Like all this question and answer is helping us grow, right? This question itself, where this person wants to be stagnant and go, oh, I give up on life, why should I change anything? Here we are questioning and question and answer, year after year, month after month, day after day. We are going through these question and answer so that all of us can grow, right?
Mhm.
So thank you so much, Michelle. I am like so, I mean, infinite gratitude, the way you, and that's what helps the Healy. Like you have to be in a state of gratitude. Like if you, the more you're in state of gratitude, the more the reception is received, right? Because you're in that elevated state, what April, Caesar, everyone was saying, right? The more you're in that elevated state, the more the reception, then we are more closer to source, right?
Yeah, there was a sacredness there. It's felt like, especially today, like healing your, like we talk about healing your past and healing your future. I felt like I was in the midst of that.
Beautiful.
It was
Mm,
palpable, beautiful. I've never experienced anything like that.
beautiful.
Why don't you, one question I had was, why don't you submit your sister-in-law without her being there? And you stand in for your sister-in-law,
Oh.
submit her picture.
I've forwarded this past week all the information to Joe. She takes a while to process. I'm going to ask her. I'm sure she's going to say yes. And if she, I just need to get a picture of her to be
Okay.
able to do that. I know that she would allow that. Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you. Yeah.
Just tell her that, or have your stepdaughter and you be there for her, because your stepdaughter is more blood related.
Yes.
right?
Yes. Because that's her
So
aunt.
that will make more of an effect. So have your, or maybe your husband and you, because it's his sister, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Have your husband join.
He sat in with me with Joseph's, that
Perfect.
first one. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So have him sit
Mm,
for his sister.
I will try
Let's just
for
sign
sure.
up. I'll send it to you, Caesar. Okay. I think I sent it on the live panel, but I'd send it again. I'll send it directly to you. Okay. Thank you. Patricia, anything else, Michelle? Beautiful. Thank you. Incredible. She's like the living example of what I want to talk about, being a Healy. So thank you. Grateful, Michelle, grateful. Patricia, you have any questions for April with all the responses? April and Caesar?
Yeah, it always seems to go to that soul's contract for me. Because, the planning, I guess it depends what state we are when we're planning. If we're trying to strengthen our ego to control stuff, to be something, to like, oh, I need to get married by the time I'm 27. I need to do all these things. I need to get a car. I need to get a job. And this is what I'm doing. So like you have the plans, but sometimes it's not even your plans as much as the society or your family is kind of giving you, you know, like the expectations. So for me, when I was, it's actually many talks with different spiritual teachers and even with Eckhart in multiple occasions when I heard he was in different years, the questionnaires would ask that question, because some of them are even in such a despair that they're just like, I don't want to live anymore. What's the point? It's like, I don't want to suffer, you know, I'm making plans. Why are we even here? You know, why are we even here if we are already divine and everything is, you know? So I guess it's pretty natural for each one of us to discover the answer by ourselves. And in that discovery, maybe of the answer, that self-inquiry is the answer is in itself. If we actually noticing that there is something else playing, you know, we are co-creators, yes, so we discovered that, but also that humility and that there is either a higher version of ourselves that guides us through this experience, lively experience, or God, some people call it, you know, depending on the religion, I guess. But there is something greater than just this individual identification and struggle to control. And a few days back, I think it was Lakshmi that she posted a little picture of rocks and that like a sand on the road around the rocks. And it was saying, I'm gonna paraphrase that, you don't get obstacles on your path. The obstacles are the path. So by facing certain things, we discover something. And like Eckhart says, and Michelle mentioned, that life is not here to make us happy, it's here to, I mean, the situations, right, are here to make us conscious. And Muji said that too, and you know, others. It's just, if we are divine being having a human experience, we are experiencing everything. Like the more things we get to experience fully, the more of a experience of this earthy life we get, and the more kind of playfulness, maybe the consciousness in its totality will get out of that specific human form. So when I'm thinking of making plans now, I kind of went a little bit further than just not making plans. First, of course, it was all the plans, but nothing worked because everything was against me, because, you know, life was against me when I was little, younger, because that's how I saw myself, as a victim. So that was one identity. Then I came to the point, it's like, okay, I give up. There's something else. There's God. I'm going to pray. And there was that thing that I'm just going to go along. But it was kind of the feeling that today's question was coming from, that is like, what's the point? I'm just gonna, might as well just stop living because I have no influence over anything. So again, I was giving now all the power to God, to whoever planned it, but I didn't realize that I was it too. So now I'm starting to play with that fact that, because of, thanks to Joe Dispenza too, showing me that, if I am a co-creator of it, maybe I'll start planning something cool, something fun, being in that fun mode, and maybe just imagining, not may not maybe very concrete outcome, but just how I want to feel, right? And then somehow whatever happens magically will get me there. And I don't have to worry as much about which step to take, because if I'm in the right set of mind in that moment, it almost like the step will appear, like I'm gonna be guided, maybe which step to take, or if it's not meant to be, something else will come out, but it's also gonna be good. So that not having too much of a specific description of the maybe outcome itself, but just how it makes me feel, right? Maybe this part. And then like you were also showing us at giving us an example how Dr. Joe Dispenza's son was getting a specific job, you know, those 2 columns. So that's the planning I want to do. That's the planning I kind of am excited about doing, and then seeing how this all unfolds and having an adventure with this. But being grateful for having so much right now, then, you know, feeling the joy in doing. That's why I ask Ken how his experience was with his trip, because you were already on that path of spirituality, you were with the group, but you kind of decided, right, to plan the trip. So what happened if, let's say, you wanted to go somewhere and the road was closed or stuff like this? So, right, in that moment, we facing this moment, what are we gonna be disappointed? Or like, and I see, maybe it's better this way because I don't have all the information available to me. And maybe if I take this road, I'm going to actually see something even better than if I took the route I already planned to see. So being that open, right? Plan, yes, of course. Yeah, you want to plan, but also be very open and flexible along the way.
It was like an adventure, an experience. I knew I wanted to do it. And I also knew, do I really want to do it? And then I would really realize how many things are holding me back. And then I realized I was doing it to myself. And then when I did take off finally, and then I started seeing things that I really enjoyed, and I started feeling things. And so I was letting go of the fear. And I knew each time I came to a path or a decision, which way am I going to go? What am I going to do? I just smiled at myself and I said, let's take a risk. Let's not do what I normally do and talk myself out of it. And there were times when certain things would happen. And I went, I have no one to blame, no one to judge. And then I could feel all my decisions were coming from me. And that's when I started breaking through patterns. And I realized a lot of time I'd be meditating and praying. And I took God with me. And I actually said, God, we're going to go on a trip together and you're going to show me the way. So with what I've learning from the group or what I've learned in life, it was like almost like now I'm taking action with it. And now I'm really going to use all the gifts, use everything. And if I fall down, I'm going to say, okay, I got to learn how to pick myself up. And I got to learn to take the different detours and deal with uncomfortable. It was like just so many things. And it was like amazing. Even getting to the group, there were so many times my reception on my phone I couldn't use. And within 5 minutes, I would have the bars that would say, okay, but then if I'm on the other side of a mountain, there's no, and I went, oh my God, even that was me seeing all the different ways of energy. And it would help me to understand that everything's energy and the frequencies of the waves of energy. And I went, oh my God, we talk about waves, we talk about energy, we talk about frequency. And then I'm like, now I'm seeing it in the physical form. And I'm seeing all these different things in everything. You know, even myself, I'll look at the earth, I'll look at my head, And I look at the earth, it's got oceans, forests, mountains, volcanoes, all this. And then I had weather and I went, oh my God, my body's just like that. I have everything that the world has, one planet. And I realized one of me, it was like almost like all these little different things that started clicking and coming together. And it was like coming through me. It was just a wave of understanding because I put myself in this uncomfortability and I said, okay, just let it happen. And I was smiling most of the time. I was so full of joy. I was very, very happy. I was like a little kid. I would stop sometimes and go into these streams, take my shoes off and be walking, and I'd be singing and I'd be walking and I would see other people. And I just was like, I just let go. I had nothing. And I realized that I need to just fully let go. And I need to really do more of this rather than keep that cage all around me. So anyway.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. I almost like you took us there with you when you were talking about, especially the stream of the shoes and stuff.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. Get up at 6 o'clock and watch the sun come through the mountains, look at all the stars, look at the moon. And I'm like, and then see the animals and even seeing some of the wolves howling at night. And I'm like, oh my God, this is something I've always wanted to do, but I never put myself in that space to actually hear it. So anyway, just beautiful.
It was amazing. And I would like to quickly go back to April about this soul contract versus planning. So how does that come together? It's like, do we know our soul's contract? Like, how do we know that certain plans are meant to fulfill because they're part of the contract, or maybe some are just going against them and that's why they don't materialize? Is that how?
Well, usually if you are insisting on doing something and it's not meant to be, yes, you will run into lots of complications. So there's, one caveat to this. So this is one of the discussions that we had a little bit ago. And then Poonam said to me, well, is believing in a soul contract eliminating belief? We can do anything. And to some degree, it could be. I do believe that you come here for a reason. You come here with a purpose, and you do have certain things that you are trying to achieve in this lifetime. That I've talked to too many people on the other side for it not to be that way. So, however, I do think that we have free choice. So it's more about energetically lining up than it is, I think, about the specific plan that you have to achieve in this lifetime. Because we have free will. So, like Caesar had said this, Ken just said this, it's more about leaving that space open for that freedom to flow. So for many years, there was a long stream of deep poverty in my path, just some serious poverty. And I think I've said this to you guys before. I know I've said it before. There has been times in my life where I literally could not buy both milk and bread. I had to pick one. I didn't have the money. So I mean severe poverty. So for me, the answer was I wanted to win the lotto. I needed money. I wanted to win the lotto, and I prayed for it. I wrote fake checks for it like Jim Carrey. I lit candles for it. I talked to my higher self for it. Everything under the sun, and it has yet to happen. So I do believe that perhaps in this lifetime, that's not part of my path. Now, is that a limiting belief? I don't know, because I've come to terms with it. I have peace. I don't feel lack. I do feel gratitude. I'm okay. But I don't know if it's in my path to be a millionaire. It's not in my path to be, like a famous movie star. So I do think we have paths. I think we have soul paths. When you are trying to achieve something and it's not happening and you're coming up against resistance, that doesn't mean it's not necessarily in your soul path. It more so means you're not energetically in a line. And when you get into that energetic alignment, which is what Joe Dispenza talks about, Abraham Hicks talks about, many others, then that is when the whole universe opens up. Then we get into the quantum, where everything's a possibility and you can grab the possibility. So did I answer your question or no?
Yes, yes, yes.
So
very
I
much
would,
so.
I wanted,
It's-
I
Mhm.
want to say something about this.
Mhm.
So since you gave that example, April, what I feel is it is not that if you set your intention that you want to win the lottery, right? That means, so what Dr. Joe says is you have to look at the sponsoring thought, sponsoring
Yeah.
emotion, right? You
The
cannot-
underlining.
you
Yeah.
cannot say I want 50,000. Don't say I want $50,000. I want $1 million or what have you, right? Think of the sponsoring thought. Emotion. The sponsoring emotion is I will have freedom. I will have freedom of schedule. I'll have an abundance to give. Like I want to start a school, like charitable schools. I'll have abundance to give, right? So think of the sponsoring emotion and you are not getting to that sponsoring emotion is my knowing. If you were to get to that sponsoring emotion and experience, you are empowered, you are inspired, you are fearless, you are noble, you are in love with life, you have a love for life. If you were to get to those sponsoring emotions, there is no way that lotto is not yours. If it is
Yeah,
not the
that's
lotto,
the idea.
if it's not
Yeah.
the lotto, it'll be something like one of your clients will say, hey, I'm going to give you $50,000. I don't know why I want to do it, but I'll give you $50,000. I'm so
it's
grateful to
the-
you, April. You've done such it doesn't need to be the lotto, right? That money will
No,
come.
you're right. It's the emotion under, so you're not looking for I wasn't looking for the money. I was looking for the security and the freedom to buy 5 gallons of milk and 20 gallons of whatever. It would, right. That is exactly right.
Right. So what we need to, that's what I want to train everyone on, is what we need to focus on is the sponsoring emotion, not so much as fixated on, oh, I need $1 million, I want $2 million, or
Right.
what have you. We need to fixate on is getting to that vibrational, like Caesar says, right? Getting to that vibrational energy of that sponsoring emotion. If we feel divine, then there is no way when we get to that frequency. And like Michelle said, right, when we do the remote coherence healing, the frequency of brain and heart coherence is off the charts. There is no way, it's indescribable when you get into that brain heart coherence, the joy, the love, that unconditional love that you feel, right, when you get into that brain and heart coherence. That's all there is to life, and that's what we are here to learn. No matter what you say that people on the other side said something, what they were here to learn is to get to that state, to get to that unconditional love.
Mhm.
Right? But they failed. They failed.
No,
and so
that's
they-
what we're all here for. Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right? That is our target. Our target is to get to
Yeah.
that experience that not only during a remote coherence healing, but moment to moment to moment to experience that unconditional love. Be in that yesterday something happened to me. I felt gratitude, and when I felt that gratitude, my whole heart like it like almost like I went down on my knees, kind of like my whole heart opened. That it's like expanded, like the amount of gratitude I felt for what happened yesterday. Right?
Mhm.
So it's like it's indescribable. Like I cannot, there's no words to what happens when we are in that coherence, that level of coherence.
Right.
And that is what manifests. That is what Dr. Joe is talking about. That is what Abraham Hicks is talking about when she says thoughts become things, right? The thought of looking at Oprah and just Oprah and Eckhart like in an embrace, right? And you look at it and the next moment, and that's when you recognize that you are a co-creator. When you start to see those things, that you think of a macaroon and somebody at work brings you a macaroon.
Poonam, do you actually have to find out mentally every single of your limiting beliefs under limiting beliefs under limiting beliefs before you start getting that manifestations? Because I sometimes feel that I want something and I'm in the right, like I'm happy, but it's still not happening. So I'm like, is there something like underneath it still that it's stopping me from fully, or I'm just lying to myself that I reached that vibration and I'm like happy and I'm also in la la land, but maybe it's just my brain, just making me, okay, here, I'm fine, but you're still not kind of manifesting, you still have no power to co-create, because there's still something like last Wednesday or whatever, this still deep belief that even April pointed, that it's still that very core belief of not being worthy or, needing approval and stuff. So I had thoughts of winning the lottery, and I thought they were very noble because my family from Poland was helping me. I wanted to have win the lottery so I can give my old boss, $1 million because he was struggling with the trucks and everything while I was trying. I want to help my brother. I want to give my parents. I was like, you guys, I'm like, I'm gonna give, and I'm gonna buy the supermarkets to turn them into the medical medium food, so nobody has to struggle like me going to supermarket and having to read everything to find out if this is the right product. I just want to go in the store and whatever I feel like, just trusting that this is the right thing, the right fruit, the right stuff, so I'm having all these crazy thoughts, and like, it's not, I bought a ticket. It's like, I think that the something is telling me to get the ticket today. So I went, and even in the at work, people was like, I didn't know that the lottery was so high. It was like a month ago, I think it was like in the history, the highest ever. And I'm like, all of a sudden, it's like, did you get your ticket yet? I'm like, what ticket? A lottery. It's like, oh, universe is trying to tell me something. So I went and I got it. I'm like, not even one number. I was like, what is that now? Am I not ready yet? Maybe I'm not ready yet. So I'm now trying to, talk to myself. So
Just like I told April, we are not at that frequency. We are not yet at that frequency where we are experiencing our divinity.
And it may not come that way through a lotto. It may come through a different way.
Exactly. What's
Yes.
Michelle
Focus on
but
the
do I have
freedom.
to, like,
I've never bought, I think I've bought in my life, my dad used to buy lotto tickets. I don't give the power to the lotto.
It'll come some other way.
I don't
Focus
even
on the
go and buy,
sponsoring-
no, just cause, yeah.
but
Focus on the
it
sponsoring.
was just the fun of it that I thought I was listening to the
It was a fun
sign.
thing to do.
But the question about those limiting beliefs, how many more I have? I know you just put the course up online, right, to find out, but it's like, what is another one that I have to face before?
You don't have to figure out your limiting beliefs because your experience of the present moment will show you. Just like the experience of the present moment where we were talking the past 2 weeks, right? Showed you that you were not enough, that limiting belief. So where do you have to focus? What is the sponsoring emotion that you need to focus on? You need to focus on, I'm an unlimited genius. You need to, when you walk in a trance, you walk as an unlimited genius, you walk as a mystic, you stand as a mystic, you bring that into, you train your body, just like Nada was saying during the group meditation, you train your body to feel like a mystic. I'm an avatar, I'm a mystic, the divine is
I
flowing
not
through me.
always, I still don't know how, because there are moments that like I'm mentally doing the exercising and even the meditation, but then I feel like this stomach feeling that I'm lying to myself.
The moment you say, I still don't know how, you're putting what Caesar is showing you, the wrong end of the stick. You're focusing on the wrong end of the stick.
Yeah, can I say something real quick?
Go ahead.
Just the
Caesar.
fact that you're confused about or frustrated about the limited beliefs, even just speaking on it, what I'm hearing you say is, bring me some more stuff about these limiting beliefs that I'm unsure of. Right? Like
See,
the frustration.
that's the proof right there. That's a proof that I'm still not there, and I'm lying to myself that I got it
No,
there.
okay, so you just need to start correlating why things are the way they are because you keep creating them. Yeah, and turn it into a fun game. Even when, like, oh my, when you're at the grocery store and you're like, oh my god, I got to look at this. Look at this one. Wait, why am I doing this? That's why you're doing it. Asking the universe for more of it. The universe is never going to say no to you. It's always yes, yes, yes.
Can
The
I
result-
offer something also? I think Michael Murdad, I know that he says something, and it's helped me when I'm struggling with something. I just give it up to the mother, right? The mother, give it up to the mother. Just say, listen, I don't know why I'm struggling with this. I don't know what to do with it. I'm giving it to you. Show me the way. Surrender, like you're surrendering it all, right? And do one thing, maybe work on one thing, right? Work on one thing that you're having an issue with, and see if you can, because I think there's many layers, right? To why we feel unworthy, or why, like, maybe just work on one thing and see, and show me a sign, like Joe says. I love to play with that. I'm like, show me a sign, that this is the way I have to go. And then that radar, like, try to like keep the radar open as you walk through life and pick up on, like I had an issue with cats with Joseph while I've been back in the neighborhood, stray cats, and he goes out wants to go out in the middle of the night to get a baby cat and bring it inside the house. He's done that. He's gone through the window of his room at 12 at midnight and come back. And I had the neighbor that has the cats and feeding the cats, and I had to talk to them about the cats. And then this afternoon, someone called some department to pick up the stray cats. And then I thought of, well, maybe that's a good thing. You felt bad, but I said, well, now Joseph's not going to go out in the middle of the night where somebody could harm, right? And so, yeah, it turned around right away. So it's like, and then I just saw April with her cat. I'm like, okay, like cat is the theme of the day, right? Like I just, like things like that, like themes that come up, like just be very aware, of how life is talking to you, and give it up. I mean, sometimes when we struggle, we just have to give it up. I like pray, like I do a prayer. I'm like, I can't with this one, help me. And it usually resolves itself. And then some that linger. Like I know my soul contract. I know that this issue I'm going to deal with the rest of my life, you know, with Joseph and dealing with his, you know, those fears that come up with that. That's my thing, you know, everybody has their thing. And there's moments where we have more resiliency than other moments, you know, and I think that's what we are. I mean, that's the theme for me today. I feel like we're trying to cultivate this resiliency in our hearts and to be able to walk through the, you know, hot coals of life, right? That's what it's all these experiences are, just to create that resiliency in us, like to be able to really want this, you know, peace, this freedom, this light. Because that's what I pray for when I go like into meditation. I do that. I try to go for the feeling. You know, what is it and what brings me there? What moment in my life brings me to that feeling? And I know that in my life, there's moments, pinpoint moments, seconds that stay with me in my hard drive of what brings me joy. And I go to that place because that's what I want to feel. And then however that's going to come to me is however it's going to come. That's where I surrender, right? Focus on the feeling. And it's practice like a muscle.
Mhm.
You're cultivating.
Does Eckhart Tolle talks about this, about the feeling? Because I know with Joe, we also, Dr. Joe, we talk about a lot about heart having brain, that it's letting the heart decide, more of the one heart, one mind.
Mhm.
So let the mind have a heart and let the heart be the one to decide, not brain, you know, that trip from your mind to your heart, right? It's where we need to be. Does Eckhart talks about the I know he talks also about a lot about ego and the heart and the sense perception, but I don't actually, now when I think about it, I don't recall if he talks anything about heart. Like
That's what he means by when he says, are you aligned with your inner beingness? Or are you in presence? Or are you in awareness? When Eckhart says awareness, that means we are in brain-heart coherence. When he says, are you in your presence? How can Eckhart says, do you dial it up as like a dimmer switch? Can you dial it up? Dialing it up is that brain and heart coherence.
but when you say heart, it's that unconditional love.
Yes.
Yes. That you're experiencing unconditional love. And that means there is no lack. There is
But
no,
is
I'm
it
not
is
enough.
it a feeling? Is it a feeling, emotion? What is that unconditional love? Is it just you losing completely yourself?
Ecstasy.
It's a vibration. It's vibration. It's joy. Like, how do you
Frequency.
feel? How do you feel joy?
It's a fullness.
How do you
And
feel
that's-
joy? Like when you eat medical mediums heavy metal detox smoothie and you feel joy. What is that experience? Now make it a million times more.
But I was worried that I'm so stuck on the physical feeling of it that, you know, I'm still experiencing through my body, but we
No.
want to get out of the body, right?
You got to get into the body and out of the head.
Right.
It's, I mean, you just even mentioned that, you know, you're worried about. Think about one, what you're saying, and then think about two, how you're feeling, and pay attention to what's showing up, and then correlate back to that. I'm just trying to get you to understand that when you start correlating why things are showing up, you'll start really grasping this whole thing. Because when you feel good, period, doesn't matter about what, when you feel good and alive and vibrant and joyous and grateful, the things that show up are going to be reflective of that joy, gratitude, happiness, love. They feel good. Everything that shows up feels good. When you're in this state of worry or frustration, pay attention to what's showing up and go, oh, when you start correlating this and seeing how this is bouncing back and forth and why did this show up? How was I feeling? This showed up. How was I feeling? When you start to see this for yourself, And we started this session talking about Poonam saying that we are the creators, and everything that shows up is our creation in one way or another, whether we're co-creating or creating individually. You are the creator. So the feeling, the vibration that you send out is utmost important. Does it not feel good to feel good?
Wayne Dyer would say feeling good is feeling God.
Amen.
There we
So
go.
when you're frustrated, just to catch yourself, the awareness, Poonam just mentioned it, when you're in your presence power,
So what happens
it's great.
when did you guys, any of you have that moments when you started to feel that joy, and then the brain would try to figure out ways like so distrusted because you're so not familiar? This is what I'm actually like. So my body, I'm getting into that vibration after meditation and stuff, and then it's almost like my brain's like, oh, in the mode of panic. It's like we have to figure out to get something to her that it's like bring her back to that familiar worry.
Talk to
there's a-
That's
God.
fight or flight taking place in the conditioned mind.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
so
That's
the fight
the
and flight,
momentum.
the hormones of stress are caused by the limbic brain, right? The
Mhm.
reptilian brain.
But how can they appear
Hold on,
in a
Patricia,
good
let me
mode?
finish. The reptilian brain brings that fight and flight, this thing. You have a neocortex, the new brain, right? What we do is we take our neocortex and train our reptilian brain to stop that fear.
Mm.
That's the training of the body. That's reconditioning the body. Like you train your body is so 30, 40 years of your life, 50 years of your life, you've been living in this hormones of stress, right? So you need to train your body and say, sit, stay. I know this feeling. I want to experience this joy. Like I said, right? Yesterday, when was it? Monday. I had the remote coherence healing in the morning. I did body electric in the evening. There was so much energy coming through. I let my body experience it. 1 hour, another hour. It's like I'm wanting to go to bed, but it's like I'm experiencing that. Right? So you
But
just,
it was such an incredible probably feeling, like it's like you enjoyed it. You didn't worry about not
No.
going. You were just enjoying
the
being.
feeling, the experience of the vibration, right? It's patterns after patterns. It's vibration after vibration. You experience that vibration and experience that joy of that vibration. That's all it is all about. And that's what gratitude is, right? Like an elevated state. So we're getting late. I know it's getting late for you, Patricia, and all of you are on the East Coast. So it's really getting very late. This was an incredible conversation. Again, I would say thank you for choosing your divinity over your humanity. Eternally
Yes.
grateful.
Thank you, everyone, for your
blessings.
presence.
Beautiful.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Have a good night.